Hey everyone, welcome to the program WRSA Radio. I am your host G1. As always, I hope you're having a good week. This week, I have a little bit of a treat for you guys, divergence from the normal course of action, I guess, that we do. I have an interview with Clay from over at Defiance Training Group. CA has been posting some of his videos, of the group's videos, over on the mothership page for the last week or so, couple of weeks, and we were able to get this set up with Clay, and I want to thank him for taking the time to talk to us here at the show. I will leave links down in the description of this video for the various projects and websites for Clay that he mentioned, so check those out. Subscribe to the YouTube channels so you can get updates on when they post new videos, and go check out his books. Good stuff. So anyway, without further delay, here we go. All right. Well, I appreciate you doing this. Like I said, we'll go ahead and get kind of rolling here. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. You have a very extensive background. I know I watched one of your videos, but you don't have to go into all that if you don't want to. But just kind of let people know, your level of experience and who you are.
Sure, man. So I lived a very weird life, I guess, careers-wise. As a young guy, I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 18. I went over to Recon Battalion, which was their special operations back then. I was a sniper in the Marine Corps. Right a couple years after 9/11, went to the invasion with them, cross-stacked, went over to Army Special Forces, and rode out the rest of my career over there, where I was in 3rd Special Forces Group. I was a sniper and an assaulter in a dedicated counterterrorism unit. Finally, I moved up to be an intelligence sergeant, which is one of our MOSs right before a team sergeant, and taught at both the close quarter battle schoolhouse and the sniper school for special forces.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty, it's a pretty impressive resume there. Especially for a guy like me, I'm a telecom guy, so that's pretty good.
Fucking totally dig it, man. Totally fucking dig it. It was like I said, man, it was a good life. It was a weird one, and then got out after that and medically retired from injury. And I did a bunch of other weird shit for gun industry and stuff, and then I wrote 5 books, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, you want to talk about the books? Maybe some of the listeners would like to know about those.
Sure. 3 of the 5 are they're just fictional books. They're fun, they're entertaining, whatever kind of bullshit. A lot of us are not in that world right now where we could even deal with entertaining. Right? That's Last of the War Gods, Sword of the Caliphate, and Wrath of the Wendigo, which is my last one. The 2 in the middle are called Concrete Jungle and Prairie Fire, and it's funny. Those are both survival books, very much based for the world that we live in. And Concrete Jungle is probably the funnier of the 2 because I started writing that in 2019. We moved over to Oregon, and Oregon was like very much a flashpoint for a lot of the culture war that we see now. And it was such a weird place. I could see the handwriting on the wall. I mean, you could see the tension and like how crazy shit was going to go. So I actually started writing that book, and it was about 3/4 of the way done when the George Floyd riots kicked off.
Right.
So I rapidly finished, got it out like probably the first week or second week of the Floyd riots. And so that one was made for people surviving in an urban environment. And it was funny because, like I said, it was exactly the right tool at the right time. Pretty much as soon as that one was done, I was like, oh, God, this is not going to go away. This is going to get worse. So I started writing Prairie Fire, which is basically made for rural people to survive in a Civil War type scenario. And it's funny, I was writing that in July of 2020, and I called the election steal because I saw that it was going to happen. I could feel it in the air.
Right.
And I managed to get that book out, I think, October of 2020. So right before the election and all the ensuing craziness.
Gotcha. You've been doing a lot of videos on YouTube. You have multiple channels on there, I think?
I do. I have 2 channels primarily that I run. One is Wrath of the Wendigo, and that's more like strategic based. We talk about some spiritual stuff too, but mostly we talk about like strategic things that are going on.
Gotcha.
The other side of the house is Defiance Training Group, and that's more tactical oriented. That's like here's how you're going to train, actually run a digital training thing. It's a subscriber based thing. But what we've mostly been doing on the Defiance side was a whole series for noobs, people that did not get their shit together from the last three crises. As we see with this whole Israel Hamas nonsense, everything's gone to shit with guns, bullets, tactical crap. And we're very much poised potentially for a larger scale war than we've seen in, decades.
Right, right. Do you that's a hard bill for folks that have not,
It is.
have not gotten their shit together and paid attention.
Oh man. Right.
I always talk about people being on the path, and I try to tell people, hey, look, we're all walking this path, and some of us are further down than others, But to get somebody who is right now sort of just getting turned on, that's a hard thing for them, and it's good that people like you are out there doing stuff like that. How's business? I guess this is a good question.
Oh man, it's actually been completely out of control because I have individual clients too that I teach, training or whatever I buy stuff for, and that's like one side of the business. But when this thing kicked off, I felt like immediately like we had to do something for like the poor bastards that have not got it together yet. And so in between dealing with my real job, that's how we made this whole series, and mostly focused also on cheaper options. Because man, this from in most of the audience for this channel too. From gathering the stuff, right? You've had like a decade or more, so have I,
right,
to get our material stuff together. If you look at the bill for like trying to buy even a basic loadout all at once, it is agonizingly painful.
Yeah, it's pretty daunting.
Oh yeah, it's rough. It's rough,
and you make mistakes along the way. I know that is a new guy thing. Is you're always fielding those gear questions, and well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's look, hey, don't focus on that. I tell people to focus on skills more than, and the gear will work itself out.
Oh, me too. Me too. No, absolutely, without question. The only real reason we even put an impetus on gear for this one is just because if this war escalates as big as it could, there will be nothing available to buy.
Yeah, no, that's
we're already seeing it on the like the high up levels of distribution chain. A lot of stuff going away because it's all been bought by our government for theirs, which is funny how that works. But
right. So you have some partners with Defiance Training Group. Who are they? Or
yes,
want to talk to them about them a little bit?
Sure. So a lot of us from the SOP community, especially, we're kind of like our own dude. Like, so we all walk the path of training or whatever contracting bullshit that we're going to do, and we mostly do it individually, just because that's a lot more of our personality. But I really was able to put together a confederation that's pretty rare because I was able to reach out to guys that, unlike me, it's a weird thing for a soft bro to decide to be a public figure. It is. It's very unnatural for most of us, and there are exceptions to that rule. It was very unnatural for me. Like, I didn't really like putting my name or my face out there at first. But a situation kind of forced me to about 10 years ago. So I've become comfortable with it, even if I still don't like it as much. So I had an idea that pretty much nobody else has had, to reach into these untapped guys that wanted to remain kind of faceless and quiet, but still be able to do something for the community, if you will, as far as teaching people how to stay alive. So those are my other guys.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've trained with a couple of guys like that in the past, and yeah, it's hey, don't use my name, don't tell people anybody but my YouTube name or whatever. So yeah, and I try to do that myself, So I get that. That's a
well, there's a lot of strength in being anonymous, as we all know. As much as that gets shit talked by some of the more super hardcore dudes, there's a lot of strength in that. There really is. Now there's strength also in being an open, this is my real fucking name, this is my face, come do something about it. But you really have to be in a correct position to be able to do that too. Sure, yeah. So, I don't get down on the anonymous guys at all.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more. You went into about your books, I guess.
Sure.
You got anything else going on with those? Are you writing anything else, or?
Honestly, there's no time right now. I definitely feel compelled to be able to help people as much as I can, and mostly what that has turned into is I've never really liked the video medium either. It's not my favorite. I'm a natural born writer. That's what I prefer to do.
Hmm.
But it takes so much time to be able to put information on paper. Even if you type fast like I do, it's too slow. It's outside of the loop.
Sure.
So I've kind of gotten out of my comfort zone and focused a lot more on the video stuff just because it's fast. I mean, I could have that done in 10 minutes, something that would take me an hour and a half to write.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I find that, I like to write myself. Every time I do a show, I do a script for it and everything. But there are times that the writing just doesn't convey the thought exactly the way you want it. So,
That's also true. That's that goes back to even ancient Greece and things like that, where they thought that writing was actually going to make the society dumber because you didn't
right.
have to remember anymore. And there's a lot of truth to communication through nonverbal things, even the way your face looks. Or video kind of is it's a weird animal because it kind of fakes that, but it does also hit some of those cues in a way that writing never will.
Right. Right. You have the website and it's a subscriber based training. Do you have videos there? Is that kind of how you can
Yes.
Okay,
So
okay.
so bas- so basically, the premise behind that was, like I said, I've been doing this training thing for a lot of years, and I've seen a lot of things happen. And the biggest things is both ammunition availability and the normal person's ability to pay for training, like real training. We saw after Sandy Hook, ammo just dried up or was impossible to get. We saw it again around 2016. We definitely saw it during COVID, and we're starting to see it now. So across all these years, one of the strengths of being both a Marine and then a third Special Forces group, guys, those are the two brokest organizations of their relative, parents. You're always thinking about how to do something cheaper and better. So I kind of had this epiphany about a year ago that I could actually teach people like real, like no shit, tactical, how to shoot stuff with an airsoft gun in their garage,
Sure, yeah.
which sounds fucking crazy. But one of the things I actually bring in one of the books too. There was not a lot of people know this. There was a Japanese kid that came over, shot a real. He was an airsoft guy, shot a real gun for 30 days, and then he won the Steel Challenge in I believe it was 2012.
I am
Which
familiar with that kid. Yes.
there you go. Okay,
Yeah.
a lot of people aren't, and it sounds Looney Tunes. It's like there's no way that could really happen, but it did. And that was one of the things actually that put the other thought in my mind, as well as being a former pro three gunner myself. We all had airsoft guns. You'd either dry fire, usually dry fire shotgun, but we all had a mimic of our pistol at the very least. Also, we trained in the garage. So I really had this thought of why couldn't I just mass scale apply that? And so that's what we started doing. Now, up until now, we've always on the video stuff. There's a weekly lesson. You can do it in about 15 minutes because the goal was also not to take hours of people's day. You set the shit up in your garage, you run with your airsoft gun, and then we do the live fire also. So if you have extra ammo or you have extra time, you can go to the range on the weekend. And here's the live fire version of that that's bigger because it's not focused in your garage. And here's how you do that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's
So it's
excellent. I'm a fan of that a lot. We did some airsoft based training. Pete and I ran that back here locally. Gosh,
nice.
I can't remember how long that's been a long time. So, a lot of miles
Well,
between there and here. But yeah, that was something that we got on board for the exact same reasons. The ammo was expensive, and just
right,
the idea of being able to travel and take training to people,
right.
to
Yes,
it was so much easier to do that because they could find places that you could do airsoft a lot easier than a
yes,
range. So yeah,
yes.
I'm a huge advocate of that. So that's awesome. That's fantastic to hear.
Well, it's actually kind of funny too that people come down on these airsoft kids like they're fucking nerds and they don't know shit about fuck. But they've actually got a lot of talent. A lot of them. Now
Yeah.
there's some that like have never touched a real gun, so like recoil is gonna be fine. But tactically and just basic overall proficiency, there's a lot of those dudes that have it together.
Oh yeah, definitely. I see it. I don't know if you're familiar with One Shepherd. That's a training organization that I go to. I attend their semesters and whatnot. And you're out there for a week doing stuff. And I've ran into guys. It's a Miles laser system. That
Oh, nice, nice.
So they're the only civilian outfit that uses Miles in the world. So
Oh, wow,
yeah, and so it's
wow.
all blank and everything. cool
Oh, that's cool.
organization. But I have seen the airsofters come there and do great. You know, they have the tactics, they have stuff, and you know that. I think that you get the tactics first, and the rifle skills can come after that. You know, you can build that.
Oh, agreed. 100%. They're out there training, if nothing else, man. That's something you got to give them credit for. Like, they're out there fucking doing stuff.
Yeah, the last semester I was at, we actually had a kid from England that came over. A young guy who had been a cadet over there. I think he's probably 22, 23, something like that. Come over and he was fantastic. He was great. He was kicking along right along with everybody else. And even though, you know, he hadn't touched a gun since he had been in high school, basically. So he just had never touched an AR. It was, you know, show me how to run the AR. Okay, boom, and he was up and going. It was like 20 minutes and he was good to go. So yeah, it was.
That's fucking. It's wild, isn't it? Yeah, it's really crazy, but it does work. It does work, and it's such a stigma attached to these kind of things too, and that's something that our people cannot. We cannot do that. All right, we are the underdogs. We do not have any money. We're not funded by anybody. Nobody's going to give us cash to be able to do this shit. We're going to have to bootstrap it.
Yeah,
and you know, people have to come to that realization.
Yeah, I think you have to take training where you can get it, and take every opportunity and use every tool that's out there, and you're going to get something good out of everything that you do. Even if you screw shit up and you mess things up,
right?
That's still a lesson, right? You know, you're still learning something.
Right.
So,
right.
Even if you're learning what not to do, you're still learning. So yeah, that's
right.
That's great. It's good to hear that you're covered up with training work there. That's encouraging. I think. So I've watched some of your other videos where you talked about lodges. Go into that a little bit, because I think that's a very interesting topic, and we can probably expound on that for a while.
This is actually this is a very interesting subject to me too. So my last book was written as fiction, but I've never been shy about this. It was not really fiction. It was a vision, and it was actually a book that I didn't want to write. But that vision would not go away. And so I did. I wrote it out. And a key component of that is that somewhere along the way, the hero characters of this book basically realized they had to build a massive organization, or else they're going to lose everything. So they do that, and they do it much the way that we would with a secret society like the Muslim Brotherhood or somebody like that, or an order of knights. With an outside component that's visible and an inside component that's a lot less visible, and so that's actually kind of the focus that we have right now, is helping people to organize, not the bad M word, militia, not the bad M word, right? But civilian defense groups, or saber and rifle clubs, where you can meet, like-minded individuals that are, have their heads on straight, and we can organize. We can have these little clubs, and not do anything crazy like try to kidnap the governor of Michigan or any nonsense like that.
Right.
But meet people that have it together, because that's one of the ways that the left has also been absolutely just killing us. They're obviously supported by the states. They have, sanctioning from above, and they have money from donors. And so they really have organized extraordinarily well. I mean, that's one thing you have to respect about them.
Absolutely.
They have done it. We have to be able to organize our people as well, or we're just going to get steamrolled. So the Wolf Lodges are a method to do that without crossing over into anything absolutely crazy.
Right. Yeah, I love the idea. That's another thing that I have talked about before, put forward a similar concept or similar idea, and I totally agree with you. It's the left has us out organized. This was something that I've had that discussion with people of, they say, well, the left doesn't have the firearms and they don't have the training and so on and so forth. So we're just going to beat them so hard and so outright. It's like, yeah, but you don't realize back when we were just talking about how quickly they can spin up on that. So they've got the organization part down, which is far more difficult and far more hard to get in place. So
Right.
they've got us outmatched there. They can pick the shooting up far more quickly than we can pick up building a team. You know, so,
Right. Right. No, absolutely.
especially when everybody wants to be the freaking leader of the team. So
Well, exactly, and that was actually a key component of what we did with the lodges. Is there is no central organization; it's all decentralized completely. I have nothing to do with giving you the ominous dominus of you have a decoder ring and you're officially sanctioned, because that was one of the ways of protection that was built in as well. If there is no central organization, all right, they can't just really come and step on my PP, or you all had to give me your email addresses, or any of this other stuff that has traditionally tripped us up in the past.
right.
That's been a really sad thing too that's happened on the right, but it's a reality that we had to face. Proud Boys were obviously infiltrated. 3%ers, like all the leadership was feds. All this crazy stuff. And so it should be a concern. It very much should be a concern, but that doesn't mean that we can do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's an idea that I think needs to get promoted and pushed out there more and spread the word. So I'm glad you can speak to it and you're doing it and people can hear about that and realize that it can work. You just got to go about it in a certain way and make things happen. I try to convince people or encourage people to utilize existing organizations too. You've already got
very good.
You got things out there that are sitting there, and there's nothing stopping you from joining those organizations and learning what you can from them, and picking up people along the way and say, hey, well, this isn't an official thing, but hey, you guys want to meet out at the range or something like that?
And those things are often so much better anyway. It gives you so much more time to really assess who you're getting in.
Yeah.
Because that's an unfortunate thing too. We do draw a fair amount of crazy on the right. We do.
Sure.
It's just how it happens. And you need to keep the actual lunatic nut bars out of the inner circle. So having more time to assess who somebody is before you give them the keys of the kingdom is also very important.
100%.
So no, that's a great point.
So let's look a little bit into the future. What do you polish your crystal ball there? What do you think's going down in the next 6 months? What are you advising your students?
Oh man, that one's painful right now. Nothing good. Absolutely nothing good. It's when you take the broad spectrum view, and I try not to put my tinfoil hat on too much, but sometimes I just gotta. Sometimes that's what the mission calls for. The things are in place right now, as I see it, with everything that the WEF has said. The 15-minute cities, when we get rid of your personal cars, all this stuff that. It's funny because it's not even really conspiracy stuff anymore. It's out there. They've said it. It's on Press Street. But everything is primed for them to be able to do that, in my opinion, by cutting off the oil supply, which you can easily do by starting a small war with Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. It doesn't end all oil on the planet, because we still have a decent amount over here that we produce and refine, but it does massively drive up the cost and all that goes along with that. So I'm not 100% positive it's going to happen. I'm going to call it 60-40 right now.
Right.
But it would be a good play on their side. And they're doing all the right things to their positioning, all these carriers, all this stuff. So what I'm telling people right now is don't go absolutely crazy, but do prioritize things that would be very difficult to get if supply was completely crushed. Shoes, medicines, bandages, food, obviously, water, some bullets, that kind of thing. And watch for the indicators. Even if we're a little bit off, all right, and they do just spring it overnight, well, you're not caught completely off guard. If I'm wrong, you didn't, dump out your 401k into rice and beans, and we can all still sleep at night over that. I thought for a long time that they wouldn't make a big move until closer to the 2024 election, but we're definitely getting to the window. So we'll see what happens then.
Right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I had not considered the idea of crushing the oil supply to try to enact the green agenda. That's an interesting take on it.
It's a good one. I mean, when you look at that, you're like, wow, this. I mean, it would basically be the perfect move. from their perspective.
Yeah, because they've been getting so much pushback from just the nonsense that
Right.
they're trying to
Right.
push over, that people we've
Right.
been talking about that. We've been pushing back and saying, hey, that's not going to work. Well, if you cut it all
Right.
off, then there's no choice. So wow, yeah, no, that's
Right.
interesting. That's interesting.
It's scary.
Yeah,
it's absolutely it's a scary outcome, but the pieces are there. The pieces are definitely there.
Yeah, because it that even lends itself to, do they really up the potential for nukes in order to shut down some of that area? Wow.
Oh yeah, no, very possible. I mean, very possible. And it's so weird to try to understand who the players are. Is one of the few things that I've said out loud. I've actually bounced this off quite a few other soft guys too that all say the same thing. There is no way that this opening salvo of the war in Israel went down the way that it was briefed. That had professional outside hands helping it.
Right.
And that there's just a lot going on here that's kind of obscured in the fog. And I honestly think that's how you had to look at anything that's reported now in media, is like from a distance, like this is what they're saying, but what is actually happening? Because there is no truth.
Right. That's something that I think has been such a major good outcome from this, is that I'm seeing so many more people push back on them, and just normies that I bump into and have casual conversations with, saying, well, if you believe that, the doubt that is out there is at an epic level. So
it is. That's been very encouraging. Yeah. But it also cannot be lost on anybody how much using Israel as the flashpoint was a good idea. Because that instantly got like most of the military guys on board just in a heartbeat. Most of us have worked with the IDF. We have friends from the IDF, whatever. Just using them as the catalyst, most of the military guys were instantly like, okay, this is the right thing. And it shocks me. I'm like, are you insane? Like, you lived through COVID too, bro. Like, right. Let's hold on for a minute. And it was also a very good way of getting like the normie, MAGA GOP base back on board. Because they've been told for 150 years, like, don't let anything bad happen to Israel, no matter what. Jesus said so.
Right.
And so it's been in my opinion, like a very good unifying use on their part. Now, I have been encouraged. There have been a fair number of normies pushing back, but as far as like master strokes and propaganda, this one was brilliant.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think that came out of Ukraine. It was, hey, we're not getting everybody on board with World War III for Ukraine, right. But maybe we can do it in the Holy Land,
Right. Or we'll just do both at the same time. Yeah, we got left and right. Everybody's down. Everybody's cool. Everybody's got their piece. Yeah, right. It's crazy, but
everything aligned.
It's working.
And go and the level of insanity that we have to deal with on a daily basis is just off the chart. But yeah,
right.
Something that intrigued me, and I don't know if you saw anything about it, was to get kind of specific, the attack on at the opening part of this, the attack on the concert that took place.
Yes.
So
yes.
I saw a video that had parachutes in it, and I don't know if I haven't been able to confirm that, because I don't know if those were the paragliders, some of the paraglider types, or if they were parachutes. Because if it's parachutes, that means there were aircraft involved.
Right. Yes. This is kind of how I've taken any video I've seen coming out of this one, and I'm actually glad that Ukraine happened first. Because believe it or not, man, when Ukraine started, I was kind of like, oh man, this is, I'm a war junkie. I'm a news. I used to be a political junkie too. But I was watching that like, oh man, this is crazy. And it really took, it was about a week. The Snake Island thing happened. I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool story. And it really took until they were using video game footage, which they did do from Arma 3.
Right.
That was the ghost. You're like, oh, come on. And after that, everything fell apart. Because of that, with this war, I have not believed anything that I've seen. And I don't know that we can trust a single video source coming out of this, as well as we all know that deep fake technology has advanced. So I basically just don't believe anything anymore.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good baseline to have. Absolutely. I wish more people would be that way and push back on some of because we're guilty of our own stupidity sometimes with
We
the
are.
same kind of
It
propaganda
is.
shit that we push on our
Right.
own. You see it on Gab all the time. People are
Right.
posting stuff, and you're like, "What, dude? This is bullshit. What are you posting this for?"
Right.
But
When as much as I'm cynical about it, I've screwed up too. I've
Sure,
I've
yeah.
re-hit things or reposted things that were, obviously fucking nonsense 10 minutes later. And you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah,
But yeah, it happens.
I think everybody's guilty of that because it is so. And sometimes I'll be honest. I look at it and go, well, I don't really care how accurate it is.
Right. It's just kind of the attitude you have to adopt now.
it's
It
like,
sadly is.
I'm just trying to push a narrative, just like they are. I mean, if they can do that and drive
Right.
a narrative, well, then I can do that too. That's
Right.
the way I look at it. It's like, so if
No, 100% true.
if this gets
Right.
people riled up and
100% true.
pissed off on my side, well, then okay, let's roll with it.
Right.
It's an interesting situation. I always like to get other people's take on it. So, on these things that are going on. So, I appreciate the opinion on it. So,
No worries, man. It's
go ahead.
which is kind of a crazy world that we're in now that everything is like conjecture and opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe it's actually always been this way. We just didn't know. We had not awakened to that point of realizing that all media is bullshit, and maybe 20% of what gets out is true, and probably not even that anymore.
I mean, I go back a long way. I'm an older guy, so I just remember growing up in the 80s and watching the news out of the Middle East, and it was, you just always were like, well, it's the terrorists, and so we got to kill the terrorists.
Right.
So we're on the side of
Right.
the guys killing the terrorists, and
Right. Yeah.
And you just didn't question those things because there was no other real alternative. Everything that you saw, there was no internet. It was the only thing that you got was printed media and the nightly news. And so you had no real reason to question these things. So for somebody like, I'm a Gen Xer, so for me in the middle of this, I think the boomers just flat out reject those ideas for the most part. They don't. They're accustomed to those things that no, the media, this is what they say. So you believe your media versus the other guy's media, but they're still attached to it. For those of us in kind of that Gen X area where we grew up like that, that's been a huge, eye opener over the years to be questioning media the way that we do. And just our generation anyway, it's kind of like you just go, oh, God damn it.
Right.
Okay. It's very, the younger people, I think, have a huge benefit there because they've learned not to trust any of it,
Right. No, I mean, righteously. So, I mean, to be perfectly honest too, man, I mean, I didn't really start waking up myself until as late as like 2017.
Yeah.
It was like mid Trump regime that I really started like getting it. And it was kind of horrifying, man. If you've been like just a normal dude your whole life and, believing the stuff that's put out, the minute you realize that all of it was horseshit, you're like, oh, this is kind of scary actually. And it makes you uncomfortable, but you have to go through it. It is the old, red pill, blue pill thing. Like, which one are you going to do?
Yeah.
And sadly, I think a lot of people do stick their head back in the sand. But we've gotten a lot of dudes that have woken up, especially between Gab and Western Rifle Shooter. These are all good sources that have really helped pull people out of that. And it's wild times.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to keep you any more time than I have to. I appreciate the interview. I appreciate your time. I think my listeners will enjoy it. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'd love to do it again sometime, and I very much appreciate it. And I'll be in touch.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yep. Talk to you later, brother.
Yeah. Have a good one. Bye.
You too.
All right. Thank you, Clay, for doing that for me. I appreciate it. I know it's hard to make time in the day for a little channel like mine to answer questions from this goofball, but I appreciate it, and I think listeners and the viewers will as well. Hopefully you get a little bit of an uptick in views on your channel, and maybe even some new customers to your site looking for you guys' services. Hopefully we can drive some people over there. Anyway, that is all that we have time for this week. Like and subscribe to this channel. Come see us daily over at Gab and the Mothership. The link for that is in the description if you're not aware of that, if you don't bother reading the descriptions. And I will see you over in the next episode of the show. Thanks.